Welcome to the House of Ideas, a community to grow your and our future and to take action. My name is Wolfgang von Geramb, and I'm the founder of the House of Ideas, and I want to make sure that the House of Ideas is not just a dream, it will happen. And to make sure it happens, I need your support. I need contributors, people who say, oh, we like this idea. People who say, I've got something to give and I would like to team up. People who say, this should happen. I think that's a perfect beginning. Yeah, so welcome to the House of Ideas.
Thank you.
Ideas is a community to grow your and our future and to take action. And the dream I had was to create a house of idea, to create an environment without distraction in nature, where the right people can work together and they can build the next big thing as a community.
I like it.
My name is Wolfgang Geramb, and today we have I have the honor to bring Declan Williams from South Africa to the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I think it's such an honor, and you have such a big background in education, but also in tech. So today, I thought we will have a talk about the House of Ideas and really you make use of from your education and your tech background, and talk about the topic of ideas, how to make ideas happen, or when to basically pivot or persevere and make them to try harder. I think this is what we were going to talk about. Yes. And when I just elaborate a little bit more for 1 second, is the House of Idea is an idea in itself, because it's not built yet. And the whole show is about how to make your idea happen as a community. And so I'm inviting great people, thought leaders, experts, amazing people, inspiring sources who can contribute to the idea. And so we discussed together how we can make this happen. Because dream is a great thing. It's great to dream, but to make things happen is even greater. Imagine we could all meet in the House of Ideas and develop our ideas together further.
That sounds great.
All right, Declan. So about you, what are you doing?
What am I doing?
Who are you? What are you doing?
It feels like so much. So I am an educational tech entrepreneur at the moment, and I'm a teacher here in South Africa as well. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where my passion and ideas come from when it came for this platform. The platform's called Yak and Letsyak. I think we're going to probably be changing the name. So at some point, maybe the House of Ideas can help me with that as well.
Yeah.
We did like the idea, but it turns out that we are infringing on some trademarks, and just the stuff that you learn as new entrepreneurs, you figure out you can't name it what you want, but research before you do that.
And just give us a quick what is Yak about? What is the problem it's solving, or did you see?
So in South Africa, it's at the moment it's South African specific, but the more research I do, the more I realize that it's actually not a South African problem. It's a worldwide issue. There is as the world becomes more unequal, that inequality gap just separates and gets bigger and bigger, and primarily due to education. The worse off your education is, the worse off your platform is and I like to call it a springboard. If you've got a good education, that spring is just going to shoot you up and have a better opportunity to succeed. Whereas, if your spring isn't as strong, that springboard's not going to send you as high. So South Africa. So the goal of my platform is to reduce that inequality here in South Africa by creating a South African specific education platform. So there's lots of platforms out there like Udemy and so on, where it's very I call it Americanized. So if you go and do an economics course, which I did last year during lockdown, I did a bunch of courses and everything was very Americanized. I know a lot about American economics. I'm an economics teacher, so that was quite interesting for me. Whereas there was nothing that was, this is what South African students are learning, or this is what German students are learning, or Zimbabwean or Congolese students are learning. And when they Google something, it's just from first world education systems and so on. So I wanted to create a platform where they can get the curriculum that they're learning and it can extend their learning. It can help them pass and get into university. So that is the, in a nutshell, that is the goal. Currently, we have a prototype out there, but it is simply a collaboration platform. It actually has nothing to, when I say has nothing, it's the beginning of the vision. So it's just a simple chat and collaboration app with cloud storage capabilities. That's all it is for now. And we're going to build it on that.
Yeah, perfect. Like we will share the links and your contacts later on below the video in the comments. So
thank you.
And so that more people can look up for it. And if you have one challenge you would like to work publicly on, in the sense of, because the highest idea is taking ideas, bringing them to the house, and then gathering other people like problem solvers, and other entrepreneurs, educators, all kind of different people, and also like making use of technology. How can we solve certain problems so these ideas come to life? Or if they're already, because is already born, you're in the MVP stage. So what would be one thing you say, like, which I would love to take to the House of Idea?
Oh, Wolfgang, that's such a hard question. There's so many.
You know what? We keep it for now. I will ask you in the end again.
I have 3 answers for you, and maybe let me tell you the answers, and then we can come back to them at the end. How about that?
Okay.
So number 1 is my most immediate problem. There's an American company that's told me that I need to change my name. And I've done all the legal research, and I have to. I either have to take my product off the American App Store, which is also not a problem.
Okay, so there's a here regulation here, a copyright problem. There's a branding problem. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a copyright issue. I am infringing on their trademark, which I've figured out, and I've put my hands up, and we've said sorry. We'll change it. We're still talking to them. We sent them an alternative name to see if they'll be happy with it, and then we'll move on from there. Or I just simply take it off the American App Store. Which the thing is with tech is you kind of want to be able to put it out there and see which markets. Which is the amazing thing about tech, is which market will take to it the best. So
you said 3 problems.
Yes, so that's the first problem.
Okay, one problem is brand. Second problem
is, so as an entrepreneur, this is my second business, and I've never got past the stage where it's now time to scale, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I feel like my business is at a tipping point where we now go from that little garage type of startup to we now either need something that's going to push us to the next stage. Like, is the next stage funding? Is the next stage finding an employee that can work on it full time? Because our team of 4 is working on it part time over and above our jobs. So that I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. Actually, my problem is I don't know. I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know what the next step is.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the third one, which is much further into the future, is the amazing thing about education is you don't actually have to be the smartest person in the room, you have to be, well, I guess, that's not the right way to put it, because as a teacher, you should be smarter than your students, I guess. But I've lost my words now, Wolf. You need to be the best communicator. There we go. The best teacher is not necessarily the one with the PhD. The best teacher is the one that can communicate complex problems in the simplest way to a multitude of personalities and backgrounds and cultures and so on, so that they can grasp it. And especially in South Africa with 11 different languages, you've got to be able to word things properly. So now when it comes to creating content, that is a completely different thing. How do you take that great communication and create good content at the same time? So those are the three things that I'm constantly kind of grappling with. One is immediate. Yeah. One is probably within the next year, and then the other one's probably within the next 5. And that's what makes me lose sleep at night.
I think this is great adventures and great challenges you had. And so we can take, because when I take the second part, right, which you said is what is the next step? When we would take this into the house of ideas, and they're like, I think that a lot of people have the same topic. And they say like, because I never saw, when I always thought entrepreneurs need ideas. I thought like, I could create a house of ideas where it's all about, create an idea. But this is what a lesson learned. I worked with so many entrepreneurs the last years, and talked to so many as president of the entrepreneurs organization here in Hamburg, is entrepreneurs have ideas all the time. So it's not a lack of ideas, it's more about one thing, sorting out ideas, which one you not to follow, which one to continue, and which one to basically adapt or to merge. So the clarity of which one to follow up is one thing. And then they are all great in starting off. They're starting out. Like, come on, let's start this project, making the first thing MVP, getting some sims, also like doing a little bit of investment or coding something themselves. So, and gathering some people, because entrepreneurs are usually great networkers. So is this the first level is, to be true, that's easy. They all do it.
Yeah.
And then you hit a certain point where things get hard. And it can be anything. And then it's a question like, what is the next step? What is the next step? Who can help me? What should I? And now we are back to our beginning. Should we do a pivot? Should I persevere? Or should I stop?
Exactly.
And how can you make this decision? And I think that could be a great starting point to invite people in that stage to the House of Ideas.
Yes.
It's not to get new ideas, it's like to make your idea come true.
Yeah, I think that's who you would get coming to the House of Ideas. And this is why I've really gravitated towards you and towards the House of Ideas. Is so my why is mentorship. That's why I teach. I'm passionate about education, but my why is mentorship, and my why for my platform is also mentorship. And I've been able to get where I am because of mentors. I think I've just been able to accumulate all this knowledge from other people. I'm definitely not the smartest person in the room. So I really enjoy having smart people around me and telling me, like yourself, guiding me in the right direction. And I think that's where the House of Ideas will be great. I think that's what it'd be about. A key aspect of it will be building the ideas, but also mentorship in terms of when you get to this crossroads, do you go left or right? Do you pivot? Do you persevere? Do you stop or take a step back and go back down to base camp and think about what you need to do and then carry on, climbing the mountain, that type of thing.
And if we find, because one thing is making your decision on your own. I think this is where a lot of coaches are helping you to basically to make your own decisions. I think this is one thing about coaches don't tell you what to do. They help you to, find your own answer.
Yeah. So they don't give you the answer. They make you ask the right questions.
Yeah. And then, and in coaching, we hear a lot, the answer is already inside of you. And so something about decisions, this might be true. But you said mentorship, and I totally differentiate mentorship from coaching, because a mentorship is built on expertise. It's good if you have a mentor who has coaching skills, but a mentor walked the path already. And so it combines the great part of coaching on the one hand, but on the other hand, also there's this expertise. People call me, because I built a digital marketing agency and I sold it. So other entrepreneurs are calling me, not because I'm a great coach, because Wolfgang, you sold your business. How do you sell your business? And then I tell them, it's not about, this is the wrong question. And they say, why? Because the question is not how you sell your business. The question is, why do you want to sell your business? Because I walked this path of seeing what it means to sell a business. And one thing is the how part, the technical part, legal part, text part, and how the process. But the other thing is the emotional part. And this was even harder. And before you sell your business, you need to know what you will do afterwards. And I could only know this because I walked it.
Of course.
So I'm speaking, so the mentor speaks from experience. And of course, I can adapt it to different industries. Maybe I'm not a teacher. So I don't know the details how it is to be a teacher in a school, in a private school or public school, or how it is all worked out. But I understand a lot of principles, and I can speak from my own experience and how the path could be, and share this with you. So, and you, because you're the expert in your domain.
Yeah.
And so if we cross these two things, this is where decisions can be made.
Okay. That makes it, that clears that up quite a lot. I never thought of it that way.
What kind of
clarity? And it brings us back to our pivotal persevere as well.
Yeah. So how did it, what clarity came to you? Like what you said, it makes much more clearer. What was it?
So obviously when I've looked for mentors, which I'm still trying to find, especially in the tech space, because I'm not surrounded by tech people. I'm surrounded by my own industry, which is education. And then my friends are all over, but they're friends. They're not exactly mentors. So I don't have a tech or a business mentor just yet. So you've given me more clarity on what to look for in terms of, don't just look for someone who's a businessman. It's got to be specific to what I am trying to achieve, and also that relates to you.
Yeah. And mentorship, it has a start and an ending. Kind of, what do I want to learn? And there's a great moment, which I observed also or experienced as a mentor. I was working with a really great managing director. He was managing director in a company, a young guy working in a creative industry. And so I became his mentor and coach. So I was working with him, but I realized that was after 3 years, we were done. He learned everything he needed from me, So we got in an emotional conflict because we were really like we were also close, and we got in more and more fights, and not fights like, but really a lot of arguments. But he was not eating the stuff anymore I was feeding him. He said different up, no? So he was there was a feeling like a rebellion. And I thought like, oh. And then I went to him, I invited him for a dinner. And do you say for a dinner or to a dinner?
Invited him over for dinner.
I invited him over for dinner. And I told him that he outgrew me in that sense. Like what his question, the question he had for me as a mentor, that we're done. We need to go in a new direction. So I cannot show him the past anymore because he knows it now all. I can be on his side, I can be on his back, or I'm just stepping out. It's totally fine. And he was so relieved because he could not ask me to step out. He felt this was kind of like inappropriate, but he felt I became I was in his way. And then we grew into a new partnership, because then he said, you know what? I quit in my company. Now I want to build my own company. Can you please become my mentor again? Because now I have different questions.
Okay. That's so cool. I think it must have been quite brave, thinking like almost like a relationship, just it's time to end it.
Yeah.
Do we pivot or do we persevere? And you pivoted.
Yeah. In that sense, yeah. I pivoted as mentor. And now it's basically I helped him fund the company, and he's here. I'm wearing his shirt. It's a curious company, and they're doing great things. But I feel that I don't have to do much anymore. And I just see that he's applying everything I teach him. On the other hand, he's of course also making it his style and also taking knowledge from wherever he got it. So he's just fine. So
which means you did the mentoring properly, which means that you didn't just copy and paste yourself onto him.
Yeah.
He took your concepts and you allowed him to do with it what he wants to do. Okay, I've got it. Now I got to go and do whatever I want with it, whether it's ignore it or take it.
So if we take this to House of Ideas, so if we would apply that, so if we take, say, like, oh, the House of Ideas is like a temporary retreat. Let's make it, I don't know, it can be 1 week, 5 weeks. How long should it be?
Are you asking me, Flip? I don't know. I guess it depends on a lot. It depends on a lot. I mean, if I was coming to you from South Africa, I would want to be there for as long as possible.
All right.
Yeah, I would want to be there for long. So I would imagine 2 to 6 weeks. Okay. Nothing shorter than 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So let's make it take the middle. 2 to 6 weeks, make 4.
Let's make it
a 4 weeks retreat. And so you come with your topic, bringing your topic, and so there's other people who could become mentors or because they have something to give. And there's probably also problem solvers, like from their problems they have ones, but it should also be based on expertise. And so there is a temporary mentoring space where we all, because everybody brings probably an idea, needs to be supported. And on the other hand, everybody can also be a mentor.
Yes.
So it's a really highly intense mentoring space.
Like a boot camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think maybe mentorship might be the wrong word, because like you said, mentorship is a relationship. It's a 3-year stint. So maybe it's coaching and guidance and counseling and so on for those 4 weeks. But then it would be up to me as the person who entered the House of Ideas to say, to mentor X. Listen, I thought we really connected. I really enjoyed your advice. I think you're exactly the person I need for this phase that I'm in at the moment. Could we continue this relationship? Whereas
I love that. So basically, it's bringing people together, collaborate, support each other.
Yes.
And in the end, everybody can leave with a mentor. Find your mentor. Yeah. It kind of like could be an outcome. And because in mentorship, as you say, it's a relationship. You need to, like, one thing you need to think that this person has this expertise. And when I picked mentors, I wanted to make sure two things. They are smarter than me in the domain, and they love me. They see something in me which I can't see.
Yes.
So my friend Robert, and
yes, I like that.
And he was 10 years older than me, and sadly he died already. But the point was that he saw my creative talent, but he also saw how much a kid I was. So he liked me, but he also saw my problem, and he brought me into the whole field of entrepreneurship, and so he kicked my butt in a caring way, and so I allowed him to kick my butt. It was not always pleasant conversations, but I knew he meant it well, and so this is how I felt safe. It could open up. And it was, and I always wondered, because he was always there for me. And this is kind of like, I can share this story because it really touched me right now. It's when Robert died, on his funeral, there were 500 people. And he knew the world. He knew so many people. And a friend of mine here, his speech was about, I had the feeling that Robert was always there for me, but I was never sure if I was enough there for him. And I felt the same thing. Was I there? He was my mentor. I was not sure. Was that meaning? I got so much from him. How was it meaningful for him? Was there something? And I could not. And I felt ashamed and a little bit like about this insecurity that I could not tell how much I gave him back. And one day later, I got an invitation because this was the huge funeral, and there was one with just closest family and friends, 25 people. Oh. And I was invited to that. And this was the moment I thought, he picked me because he got so much back, even if I didn't know it. And I felt ashamed because I didn't know how much I was a friend to him. I thought I was just one of 500, but I was more. And maybe it was also good that way. And I'm just sharing this in the sense of how much do we give as students to the mentor? Something we don't know.
Yeah. And I think at the same time, that is what the lovely thing about being a mentor is. I've been a mentor once, and I knew that I was giving, but I always knew that I was, and I don't know if you felt the same when you were your mentor, when you mentored, but I never felt the sense that I wasn't getting anything back, or else I wouldn't have been the person's mentor in the first place. You would have had to have, cut ties, like you said. I was a mentor. Now that we're sharing stories, I was a mentor to a young boy he's a Zimbabwean boy living here in South Africa, and both of his parents had passed away. And the mother or the grandmother of the boy was working for these friends of my sister's, and they asked her to kind of just tutor him in maths, because now that he's obviously had a traumatizing 2 years, in the space of 2 years, both of his parents have passed away, and his marks have just imploded. He's just not the same person, great cricketer. And she just couldn't get through to him. No matter what happened, his marks didn't improve. So she asked if I would, she's like, maybe a man needs to do it, or maybe, because I'm a teacher, I would be able to get through to him better. And I should never have been a maths tutor, but I'm not very good at maths. But, it was only grade 8 and 9, so 14, 15 years old. I gave it a shot. And to this day now, this is 10 years later, we are still friends. And he called me up the other day and said, I've got into university and I've decided to study teaching because of you. And he got a scholarship to one of the universities for his cricket. And it was amazing, because there were times, and the amazing thing about mentorship is sometimes it's not what you're supposed to do. That's the important thing. And what I mean by that is my job, I was being paid by his foster parents to tutor him maths. And it was an hour once a week. And there were times where I would rock up and you could see he wasn't in the mood, or he was kind of just banging his head against the wall with these concepts. And I said, well, let's pivot today. Let's not persevere. Let's pivot today. And we would go to the cricket nets, and he would bowl and I would catch, and I would throw it to him and he would bat. And we would just practice certain things. We would play for 3 hours, even though I was only meant to be there for an hour. And it's those types of decisions where the mentoring comes in, is we're going to just take a step away from what we're supposed to be doing, what you're struggling with. And years and years later, he's now top cricketer at a South African university, and he's studying teaching. So, and I never thought that what I was giving him, I never needed in return, So that's my story. So I think as a mentor, it's a two-way thing. I think you get way more from your students than they do from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure you must feel the same about who you've mentored. So I'm sure your mentor felt exactly the same way.
Yeah, and it is. And you don't know what you get in return. And sometimes it's like you said, it takes years. And I think it does.
Yeah.
And as a mentor is this strong inner belief, what you will see will have some effect. And it's and I think mentors, they will be chosen because there is this inner belief. There's something that this person is believing in themselves, and this is attracting the other person. The confidence into something. And
yes, there's that famous saying is, someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a seed 100 years ago. So I think it's that type of patience and an investment. It's an investment in someone else. So I'm a firm believer in that type of sweat investment into other people.
Yeah, we should really, I think that's a great topic to bring mentorship to the House of Ideas, and to see what kind of relation will develop, and then also talk to other people, like, would they be interested in afterwards mentorship? And how does it work? And how is it structured to make it, because people say, oh, like there's a lot of masterminds out there, right? And which is also great, because then it's like you have a retreat and afterwards there's a mastermind group. But a mastermind group is not mentorship.
No.
Because it's this one-on-one, this caring, and the commitment for a certain time to continue on a path with a certain goal. And people are having a lot of hard time finding mentors. I see this in a lot of topics in the question also, how do you find, this is what I take also from today's session, is what do you need? What kind of mentor are you really looking for? Setting the expectations, and and also giving the other person the space, the mentor space, like to get to know you, to understand what is the real problem behind it, or something that it's worth taking you to the next level. So it needs to be a win-win situation.
Yes. And I think that's also a big thing. I mean, I know you and I have spoken about this quite a bit, and I know we disagree to a certain level about the tiers of education. But what I believe, as someone who is learning and active, as an entrepreneur, if you're not an infinite learner, then you're going to be dead in the water. You need to constantly be learning, constantly not the smartest person in the room, as they've said a lot, and you need to just have this open mind. And I think with education, it's the same thing. If you don't know something, I mean, if I say something that you don't know, or a word, I mean, I'm busy reading Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. He's got such a great vocabulary that sometimes there are words that I don't know, and I Google it, I see the word, and I know it. And in my opinion, that's the first sense of education is Google. You search it. And that's the same thing as an entrepreneur. I give you a call and say, well, what's the best marketing agency that I should just ask quickly for this? And you tell me, and then that's that done. But then the next tier is you go to your, I can't believe I've forgotten this. I've been putting so much thought into this over the last year. So the next tier is your pre-recorded content, or your textbooks. That's specific towards you. You go to your textbooks. Then the next one would be your YouTube, which is pre-recorded content. And then your next, which is also what Yak is hopefully going to be, pre-recorded content, where it's more described to you, hopefully in your language and in your way of learning. But then the next tier is your mentor, or maybe not your mentor. Maybe it's the next tier is your teacher. You go to your teacher and they can sit there and they can describe it to you and spend time with you. And then the next tier would be your mentor. There's someone teach you. And I think it's the same with entrepreneurship, is instantaneous information, a little bit more detailed and specific towards you, pre-recorded, a friend or a colleague, and then your mentor. And I think that's kind of the hierarchy, Maslow's hierarchy of education.
I think that for that, you're opening a complete new topic, which is really interesting. Or no, basically you're putting the mentorship into a model of education. And in the sense of, well, in the house of ideas, people also come to learn and grow, to grow their ideas and to develop them. So, and we already started with the coaches, which helps you to get out the knowledge which is inside you and to communicate that and get clarity on that. And gets you like all the different things. But the informational part is, I think, is another topic which is really interesting. Where do we get the knowledge from to proceed? Because sometimes a mentor is one way of taking the next step. But it could also be a great book. It could also be a great YouTube video, or calling someone, or taking a class, taking a sales class, how to set up your sales, or how do you do perfect sales your own. And I think this is another pillar which I see now more clearly, that we don't have to talk about mentorship. We have to talk about the educational part of the house of ideas, which
and the structuring. I like your word you use pillars.
Because mentorship is one way of one way of education.
Yes.
And if we want to build the future, there will be a lot of topics we don't know. And
of course,
and especially, you said, like, as tech entrepreneurs, a lot of things are ahead of us we don't know. And
think about education. We're busy preparing the youth for jobs that they don't even have yet.
Yeah, and the future jobs will change so much.
Yeah.
Because this is what we see through AI. 50% of our jobs by 2030 will be replaced by AI, but new jobs will come. Creativity becomes more important. So we have to educate for the next century. And the next century is already started. And,
yes.
And I think with that, education is a really big pillar. And thank you so much, Declan. Like this was an amazing session. You raised so much food for thought by diving deeper in the field of education and the mentorship, which is just one way of education. How do we have to, and we have to elaborate on that topic, how we create a structured way of education so the community can grow as a total and the individual can grow. And so this is a big thing of that to make ideas happen.
Yeah, and I think this is potentially why education could be failing at the moment, is students are treating education as the end goal. So I've got my matric or I've got my degree and now it ends there. And then people who are not in the education system, and I'm not talking about teachers, I mean people who've graduated, have now left education behind. And I'm not saying they stopped learning, I'm saying they've left the education system behind and they think they're done with it. Whereas if you think about anything about how you get into business and learn, it is all the same system. The first thing you do is you pick up a book and you learn. And then the next thing you do is you ask someone. And the next thing you do is you do more research and you build and you elaborate. And I think that would be a very similar structuring, not like a school, but a very similar structuring to the House of Ideas. Whereas the first thing you do when you walk into our 4-week program is, here is your booklet. This is what you need. This is what you can expect. And then the next thing is your coaches and then your masterminds. And then hopefully you leave with that little top tier of having a mentor, of someone who walks the path with you. And even better would be a continuation of the community that you've built in the House of Ideas, where I've got my mentor, but I know Wolfgang is great at digital marketing. I know that Declan is good in this space. I know that person's great in that space, and I can call them up. And there's just this continuous learning and advice given and so on. So I think you're onto something. I'm very excited about it.
So if I were asking you, like, what could be like 3 sources, like a book, a film, or a podcast or things, when we want to go deeper, or when I would like to go deeper in this field of structured learning levels around that education, like what could be a good starting point? What would you recommend?
Well, so the truth is I like to be prepared. So that's why I asked. I mean, you sent me a document recently in order to prepare for this, and the truth is you need to be prepared. You have to arrive knowing what you're getting yourself into. If I spend the first week or the first 2-3 days learning what I need to do when I arrive at the House of Ideas, I've lost 3 days of growth. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I would imagine that it would be just some type of manual. Like, Declan, here is your House of Ideas for Dummies. This is what we're going to do. This is what the next 4 weeks entails. This is how you need to prepare. And actually, there we go. Preparation. It's got to be a book. It could be a video, an introductory video. It could be a mix of both. But before you walk into these doors, you have to have read my little information pack, or you have to have listened to the first 3 videos of my YouTube channel, because you then won't be able to make the most of it.
And for that, just from an experience of you, when you have new students in school, I would say that none of them is prepared. They just come, right?
Yeah.
How much time do you lose from the first 4 weeks in learning the system, or from the first week?
A lot. it's so if I have to think, and I think it's also the way the school system is structured. The moment I'm at an all boys school, so the moment the boys arrive, they're thrown into class, and here's the new concept, and then we test them, and then we don't. Maybe we'll go through the exam and we'll go through the test and the project and say, here are your marks. This is why you did badly. Okay, cool. Let's move on. That because there's so much pressure to move on to the next concept and get it done, right? Where there's also no going back and learning where we went wrong because there's just simply no time. I don't know what the rest of the world's education system is, but there's an incredible amount of pressure.
But onboarding, like you said, I think onboarding and pre-onboarding is an amazing idea. I have not thought about that, actually. And especially in the sense of that onboarding before saves us time to prepare and get up to speed.
Yeah,
because if we are all prepared,
that's what I would do to my students. I would give them my PowerPoint presentations and a little book, maybe even a pre-recorded video saying, when you get to class on Thursday, because we actually go back to school on Tuesday. We've just had 2 weeks off. When you get to class on Thursday, this is what you need to have at least read, just so that you know you're in the right mind space. And I think that would incredibly improve most systems. And I know that I've just finished writing a set of exams, and I've studied again this year, and I know that I failed at doing that as well. And I should have done that. And I would have been a lot better prepared for my lectures if I had simply just read the chapter that we were learning at beforehand. So this has been amazing. Yeah. I've loved it. I think you're onto something here, Wolfgang. It's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And so I will put your contacts in the comments. And I would love, you're already like, today this was already like a house of ideas, but you became a contributor. And I would love you to become a member that we all together can build this community, build this thing together.
I would love that. Be careful what you ask for, because I might just be there.
All right. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you for having me. This was so enjoyable.
Yeah. Have a great day.
Awesome. You too.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the House of Idea. It means the world to me, because the world is everything we have, and let's take care of it.